Okay, here we go with a new project. This is a fairly large Zenith Chairside radio. I bought this quite a while ago, and it's been sitting here in the living area, and it needs a little help. The speaker cloth is wrong. It's not the right pattern. I have actually behind it, I have a roll of new speaker cloth. I have pretty much all the parts I need for this. This is kind of cool. It slides over like that, so you can use the radio. Then, of course, you've got your standard controls. It is turning, believe it or not, but I have a new belt in here for it anyway. This is the volume, power. I was told by the guy I got this from, who used to collect radios, he said, and he gave up on it. He got married, and I guess his wife was not into them as much as he was, so his radios got sold, and this was the last one that he had, and he was keeping it, but then he thought, I need to get rid of it. It doesn't fit anywhere. So here it is, taking up space in my living room. Anyway, it's in pretty good shape. It's got a little bit of wear on the top, as you can see. I'm not going to refinish it. This is not bad enough for me. I think it looks okay. With the new grill cloth, it'll look better. I think the biggest thing is getting the chassis out. It might be an adventure. Sometimes these are hard to take apart. I was told that it used to work. Well, everything used to work. And now it hums. Well, I haven't plugged it in, and I don't want to plug it in because this is, 90 years old, and I certainly don't want it destroying any expensive parts. I'm hoping that, speaking of expensive parts, I'm hoping there's a few things which I'm a little worried about, the transformer being one of them. I've seen this model. I've worked on so many of this chassis, and I've seen this model have a bad power transformer, so that's one of them. The other thing is there's a couple coils that like to go open. There's an RF, I guess it's like a choke, that I've seen go open. I fixed it in a couple of these. It's really a pain to do, and I really hope it's okay here. The other one is the oscillator coil I've seen go bad, and I've replaced it in one. I'm hoping it's not the case here. And then the other thing, the output transformer, which I think is okay because he said it hums, so we wouldn't hear anything if it was open. So, and the field coil, of course. But the field coil, again, like he said, it made noise, so that's a good start. I have this apart. This is very strange build, but this intersection slides out. What I've found is, take a look. And you can't really see from here. Take a look at this chassis. It's more than 9 tubes. This is supposed to be a 9-tube radio. This is the 12-tube chassis. So someone obviously at some point decided that they would rather have a better radio in this cabinet. Most likely something catastrophic happened with the original one, and they got this chassis and speaker from a bad cabinet or something and changed it. Don't know how long ago that was. Probably a very long time ago. Look at all the dust over here. I'm guessing this has got to be, probably done in the 70s. One thing I will say about this, I just took the speaker out. It has all of its bolts, and it has, when I took out the nuts for the speaker, the washers were all there. So I'm thinking either someone was very conscientious, and this cord is obviously newer. Someone was very conscientious when they did this. All right, so now we get to see what they did, which is always fun. Now, this was clearly someone else's project. They say it hums, huh? These caps shouldn't be bad by now, are they? Really? I mean, they didn't do a bad job. It's okay. It's not great. It's not how I would do it. They forgot the across the line capacitor. Actually, it's a... Is it across the line? It's, I think it's a bypass. But that needs to go now. All of these here, fine. Those are okay. These are kind of expensive now. This was probably done in the 80s, 70s or 80s. Yeah, these look newer, 80s, maybe 90s. So this was a project someone had, but they didn't change all of the capacitors. Now, there's a couple there, two there. So some of the work's been done. That's okay. They clearly changed the dial belt, which is actually okay. I might leave that one. That's fine. Needs to be oiled. This needs to be put back. Obviously, it was probably around the motor, and someone spun the motor, and it, did whatever it was going to do. I bet there's a few capacitors buried somewhere. I like the zip ties. That's always fun. Zip ties. It's really not that bad, but it's like it was like half done. Why not do all of it? I don't get it. So that's that choke that likes to go open. I'm gonna have to check that. The soldering is not that great. It's okay. This is a little floppy for my liking. I'm not gonna replace it, but it's not great. What is this? Oh no, these are really loose leads. That should be tight. I hate when people do that. This floppiness here, it's a floppy capacitor. I hate floppy capacitors. I mean, at least this has been worked on at some point, and it's not a complete disaster. So we got the schematic here. This is the model 12S, whatever, 245, I guess. 12S 265, there's a whole bunch of them. And it's a chassis 1204. Yeah, I checked the speaker. Speaker's fine. Field coil, I looked at that. The output transformer is okay, so that's good. These capacitors are very old, and unfortunately we need to change them. This is marked 40 microfarads. Well, if you look at the schematic here, there's nothing even close to 40 microfarads. So, I hate when people do that. So that's marked 42. Well, there's no capacitor marked 42. There's C2019 through 27 or whatever, which are all electrolytics, and they're all low values. The first filter capacitor, which is up there, I think was marked 30. I think I will revisit that. No, this one was 30. So, yeah, okay. So that one is the one that was being replaced by a 40. So this one, is that the second filter? I don't even know. C27, what is that? The 20. Okay, so 30. The tolerance for these parts was not that close back then, so that's okay. I think the way to handle this is to replace the rest of the capacitors. I can leave what they left, I guess, or leave what they changed. Check out this can dome. Make sure it's okay. If it's bad, then we'll change it. I can't really see it from here without these big floppy capacitors. Like, oh my god, what? Zip ties. I love zip ties. They're great. Yeah. Let me try and figure this out, because I got to figure out which capacitors are which ones on the schematic, and then put the right values in for them. Because this is a mess. These are big old parts. So this is the old part that was in here, and I'm just going to show you that's a 40, but still, this is a 20, 22 at 500. This is so much smaller. Even a 40 today would be only marginally bigger than this. Okay, I'm starting to work this out a little bit more. So the first filter is right here. Then the second one is here. And then you've got these two. These came out of that can, which will need to be restuffed, which I'm not going to do right this moment. I'll probably save that for maybe tomorrow. And then those go here. It's pretty straightforward. The third one here is this 3-section here, which is this here on the schematic. These are 10 microfarads at 25 volts. So that doesn't matter. I probably leave those because those are low voltage, and they typically don't go bad. They don't get hit like the big ones do. Even though those are probably pretty old as well, they might still work. I've still got a few more capacitors, papers. I've got one there, and I think one or two up there. And then the other thing I need to do is figure out what's going on with the can dome, because I see it one section is bridged, which is just what I want to see. Probably means it's probably means it's open, or at least high or something. So that will have to be looked at. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure even what to expect from this. I really don't know. It does have on the chassis itself, someone wrote 267, so I think that was probably the model of the set that this came out of. You can see down here there's a 12S267, which I looked up, and it's a very nice cabinet, which unfortunately, I mean, you get what you get, so I can't complain, but I would love that cabinet. I do love consoles. Not that I have room for it, so maybe I should be happy I have a chairside. Just for fun, here's a more accurate comparison. This is a 47, so that's the modern value of this. This is a 40, so you can see the difference in size. So here I'm about to restuff this can because this floppy mess. I mean, they put 40 microfarad capacitors in for 4 and 8. I'm going to put probably, I don't know if I have a 4. I'll look. If I do, I'll put that in. Otherwise, I'll put a 10. So I've restuffed this can. You can see it's a 4 and the other one's an 8. So I put a 10 and a 4.7. The yellow is the 10, and the green is the 4.7, of course. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back in and wire it up and get rid of this mess. I did briefly check the can dome. It is completely shot. The first section measures like 250 ohms. The second section is shorted. And then the third and the fourth are open. So it's never going to work that way. Now the guy said it hums. Well, probably doesn't even hum because of the filter caps. It probably hums because the can dome's no good, and nothing's working. The voltages aren't going to the set. So with that changed and some new filter caps, it may work. We'll find out. Okay, well, look what I have. I have two 12K resistors and then a 180 ohm 5 watt. The only other one is a 78 ohms, so I can use a 75 or 70. I can't remember what the standard value is. Probably 72, maybe. So I can definitely do that, and then I can put that in place of this can dome, which is no good. I don't know what this is here. This is someone stuck that in. It's parallel. Yeah, so that can go. Definitely can go. And then I may actually end up, this was a 30 and I put a 20. I may end up changing that to a 30. I have them, or 33, so I might do that just to keep it a little more close. It's possible they put a 33 instead of a 20 in place because there was a little extra hum and they wanted to, help reduce that. Anyway, we are getting somewhere on this. Thank goodness. It's you can see what I did was I wired up this 2-section capacitor, which you can't even see, which is nice. I put this one in. I put that in. So the electrolytics, except for this mess over here, which, like I said, I'll probably leave their low voltage. There's hardly any volts on them. And then I've got to change this across the line, or line bypass cap. And one more there and one more up here, which I'll do when I do the can dome. So we're getting there. Definitely getting there. It's a little slow. So I did a little more research on these just because I was really curious. And I figured out the date codes here. I believe, anyway, on some of them. So this one, where it says 9350H185, it's the 50th week of 93. So believe it or not, they're that new. This one, 8652L, I'm assuming that would be 52nd week of 86. I don't know. I'm not totally sure on that. But that's what I'm guessing. Unless it's 96, I'm not sure. The other thing kind of crazy about these is apparently some of these, and I think these are older, but some of these have a small modern capacitor inside, and they just make them large so that you can kind of replicate the size of the original capacitors in the equipment. And, there's people that like this brand. I could check these, see if they're still any good. If they are, I might hang on to them, but I mean, they don't belong in this. They don't fit, they're just too big. They may work better for another radio, but this, the space is better used by, using smaller capacitors and putting them in the can like I did. And then, of course, the space savings over here. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this paper cap up here, and then I will get started on the can dome. Of course, I discovered here, which you probably can't see, there's another hidden paper cap. There's also this one here, which looks like a mica, but I don't know about that. And it is from the, the plate of the 6J5 to ground. Now the plate, of course I don't have a voltage chart, but I would imagine, let's see, we can look at the schematic here. So the plate to ground, that's C12, that's that paper / mica / whatever it is. You come back down to here, that has some pretty, pretty high voltage on it. So it's going through 2 resistors, coming off the, well, maybe not that high. Let's see. Here, going to R17. What size is R17? 10K. And then it's going down through another resistor here. And it's still got a decent amount on it. So it probably should be changed if I want to do this right, and I think I have some, so yeah, I might just change that. So again, I want to do those before I do the can dome because they're underneath it, and my plan is to, I've done this before in others, is use these existing holes to mount terminal strips so I can put the new can dome above it. Well, it's not going to be a can dome, it's going to be a resistor strip which will go above it. So I'm going to flip this around so I have a little more space to work, and then we'll continue. So this here on the left is the mica mold, whatever. I don't know if that's paper or what. So I'm replacing it. This is the replacement. It is a same value. It's a little smaller, which is nice, but it is the same value. The other thing I'm going to do while I'm down here, because it's kind of buried, I'm going to take care of that other little capacitor, the 0.003 there. One thing I was just change this capacitor down here, which is done now. That's fine. I can put this wire back. One thing I noticed, this capacitor here, 0047, there's two of them in there. They are supposed to be 600 volt rated capacitors, and there's 200 volt parts in there. So I'm gonna have to change them. I don't trust it. Get rid of them. They're not gonna work. The other thing I have to do is I have to add back this little one here for the mica. I just want to talk about the lead length here. You know, this is too long. It's better to leave the leads shorter. I mean, this is also too long. I'm probably going to leave that part, but you know, when you're working on these, the best thing to do is just to make the leads as short as you possibly can. Eliminate some interference. It's just a better idea, because this mess here, which, you know, they did the J hooks, that's okay, that's not a problem, but the parts, you know, too long. You need half that to get, you know, from here to here. Even what I'm doing is probably longer than I need, but at least it'll be okay. Okay, just to show you, that is an acceptable lead length. They don't need to be that short, but they don't need to be, you know, 7 miles long like this was. So I'm going to connect the other one over there, and then we should have we should be done with that. These, like I said, I'll probably leave them. I mean, they're not great, but they're okay. But these, it was more of a matter of they used these, what is it, a 0.075? Really? What? Oh boy, it's not even the right value. What is this supposed to be? Oh my God. From the plate to the center tap of the output transformer, C17, 0.005, and we've got 0.0075. Okay. Drives me crazy. It's really crazy. So that makes me wonder, do they use the wrong values and everything else? I'm gonna have to go through this again. This is not what I wanted to do. I hate redoing someone else's work. I wonder, I mean, I bet if they use the wrong values here, I mean, this 0.056 is probably fine. This is I can't even read that, 0.1. I think those are okay, but some of these I don't know. Yeah, but that's, I mean, it doesn't really matter in that position. The C16 would matter. I don't even think they changed C16. I think I changed C16. So C16 is supposed to be what? 0.05. Well, actually they did. C16 is a 0.056. That's fine. What voltage? 400. C16 is 600. I'm going to change that one, I guess, too. Oh boy. Yes, it's important to follow the voltage ratings. They're not doing it because it's fun. They're doing it because there's a reason. It needs to be rated for a certain voltage. 400 is probably fine, but there are voltage spikes in the audio circuit, and sometimes you need a little bit higher rating. So there's a reason they did that. It drives me crazy. All right, I'll just keep going. All right, so I changed those two with 630 volt parts, and I changed these two also with 630 volt parts. Again, very important to pay attention to the voltages on the parts you're putting in the radio. You know, resistors do have a voltage, although for radios it doesn't really matter as much in general. You know, the highest voltage you probably see in here is about 450 volts, maybe. But they certainly matter for TVs, and, you know, for the CAN dome, which we're going to do next, what matters there is not so much the voltage, but the power rating of the resistor. And there's a chart you can look up, thank goodness, because it would be annoying to figure it all out. That tells you the ratings or it actually tells you the amount of power consumed through each section. So you can then just figure out, okay, I'll put a bigger size in. So like, for example, some of these consume about 4 or 5 watts. You put in a 10 watt, you know. So anyway, that's what we're going to do next. Oh, you know, I still got that one, and I got that buried one there. Maybe I'll do those. I don't know. But at least I got this power supply section, or not power supply, the audio section a little bit in better shape. So that should be certainly better. That's, you know, got to have the right parts in there, right values and right voltages. Okay, it doesn't look beautiful, but the CAN dome is in. It's wired correctly. These terminals here are not connected to anything. I almost did that wrong. Got this one grounded like it's supposed to be. It doesn't, you know, again, it's not pretty, but it's there. Leads are pretty short. I got the 30 microfarad capacitor in there instead of the 22. I'll go with the one that was in there originally, the value. I left the old 10 microfarad electrolytics. They don't get much voltage. They should be fine. Okay, we're going to test the first 6V6. Let's see. Do we have any shorts? No shorts. Good. It's mediocre, but it'll work. All right. Yeah, they're weak, but they will operate. Let's see. I bet this one's going to be the exact same thing. Let's see what it does. These are the original tubes. They're probably a little old. No shorts. It's good. Well, maybe the other one's good too. Let's give it a minute to warm up. Sometimes they just need an extra minute or so to warm up. Yeah, that's okay. Cool. So the output tubes are okay, so that suggests to me the others are probably okay. Those are the original ones. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll test the rectifier and so on. All right, so let's see. The 5 is up. It's mediocre. 3 is up. Yeah, it'll work. It's weak, but it'll work. This is the 6J5. That's good. I think we have 2 of these, actually. Needs a minute to warm up here. Yeah, that one's good, too. Very nice. The 6J5 as well. There's 3 of them. Even better. And it's got some hours on it. Is it lighting up? Tests good. All right, let's try this again. That tests good. Perfect. So I'm looking at this cord and it's not good. The wrong way to do this is to put tape over it, which is what I'm about to do. The right way to do this is to cut the wires and put heat shrink over them, and the really right way to do this is to replace all the wiring. I don't feel like replacing all the wiring, to be honest. What I'll probably do, this is in a cabinet that is very small. The speaker doesn't need to be that long. I'll probably just cut this section out and rewire it, replace the pieces that are broken, and you know, clean it up with some heat shrink over here and so on. But right now, I'm put tape on it, make sure it's, at least I don't touch it, and there's no shorts before we power it up. I want to see what the radio does. All right, we got this set up on the Variac. I've replaced all the capacitors, and yeah. So, I did the CAN dome, of course. I got the Variac plugged in to the dim bulb, and I got my meter. So we're going to go ahead and give it like 10 volts or something. We have 30 volts. We're at 40 volts. 50 volts. It's going down. That's good. 60 volts. B plus seems low, but you know, we're only at 60 volts. 80 volts. It's starting to draw some current. Oh, I hear something.
Absolutely, but in those text messages, fewer vehicles are eligible now because of the sourcing requirements for critical minerals, as they are called, and for the battery components. Not quite sure what critical minerals are. There are a lot of exotic minerals in the EVs to try and help them make certain requirements and perform certain functions. But as far as batteries are concerned, I'm sure that has to do with the source of the lithium for the lithium-ion batteries.
Sounds really good.
And also, the vehicles must have been manufactured in North America.
All right, I went ahead and I put in a fuse and a dropping resistor. This is a 25 ohm. I think it may be too high. We're going to find out. I'm not really sure. This may not need quite that much of a drop. So I don't have anything smaller than that. So if it does need something smaller, I will go ahead and order that. Next thing I need to do is something about this complete disaster of a speaker wire. Okay, I put some heat shrink around these leads. Did a little bit over here where it was open. And then we're gonna, so it doesn't fall over. I'll put some tape around it just to keep them still, and we should be good with the speaker. Okay, we've got, let's see.
Eagle.com has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any
so at full line voltage, I have 102 volts going into it. That's a little lower than I want. Alright, so we're at 106 volts. I have this plugged right into the line. It's a bit low. You know, I just did a quick check of the voltages on this, and I was getting 106 in, and I thought, well, you know, the only thing that really matters, other than B plus, of course, is the bias on the output tubes. And pin 5, according to this, should be minus 2.5 volts, and it was only minus 2. So that's not really ideal. I think it actually might be better off without this dropping resistor. Our voltage here is 118 volts. It doesn't really change that much. I would prefer to let this, you know, if I were to sell this, I would prefer to keep one in here. But, you know, to be honest, it doesn't seem to be improving it. It's one thing to have too high voltages, but it's also one thing to have too low voltages. And you don't want that either. Okay, so we have a different strategy here. This is a CL70, CL80, I can't remember which one it is. I think it's CL70. It doesn't really matter. But anyway, I'm mounting this over here. It's going to get plenty of air, so it should be fine. And then we're going to power this up and see what the voltage is like. Now, typically what these do is they do two things. They provide a slower start, and they also drop the voltage a couple volts. So we don't really need to drop the voltage too much here because the line voltage is 118. We'd like maybe 115, 116 is more appropriate for this. This should do that, and it'll also, like I said, provide a softer start, so it's a little nicer on the power switch and so on. So yeah, so we'll see. This might work. And that's about where we want it, 115. Okay, we got the signal generator on 456 as close as possible. I'm going to do the IF So I've got this on the first detector with a 0.5 microfarad capacitor. We'll just do a little. Oh, I didn't think this was far off. I guess it is. Okay. Wow. Getting the station through it. Amazing. Let me turn this down a little more. Just, you don't want to hear too much of the tone. That's pretty good. Okay, this. Okay. Okay, let's just pull this off. Let's see what we've got. It actually seems to be worse.
What's more important? Obviously,
it helps to put it on distance.
With us, Henry, you got about a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, making just a quickie.
Yeah, that's working.
Just the idea that this concentration.
All right, so the IFs are right. The dial alignment is completely off.
That's like 100 years ago.
And apparently there's a emergency going on outside. That's not good. All right, I'm gonna. This eye is dim. It looks bright in the camera, but it's dim. I don't want to put one in this. I don't know. I can always come back and do that later if I want to. Sounds good. All right, let's do the rest of the alignment. All right, it's playing okay. We've got, it's showing the stations roughly where they're supposed to be. That's 850, which used to be an oldies station, not anymore. 820. It's close, it's not perfect. I don't know, 77, I think it's ABC. I'm not sure what that one is. 710. WOR, which was around when this radio was new.
I must commend Sean. When he broke that
660.
glass, broke the glass, and Sean said we have the most
it's a little off, but it's not too bad. And then we got, this is really tough to turn. I gotta do something about this.
Headlines, I'm Chris Williams, WICC News.
Get ready to
Yeah, 600.
lifestyle with the Connecticut Better Home Show and Women's Expo.
Pretty close.
23rd and 24th at Total Mortgage Arena. Dive into the
So what I've got to do here, I'm going to shut this off. What I've got to do here is I've got to do something with this belt. The motor works, I can hear it turning, but the belt is just too tight. It likes it a little loose. Now I did get new belts for this. I have them somewhere, and I was going to put them in. So maybe that's the next step. It's kind of a pain because you got to take these little C-clips out, and they love to go flying, and they end up, if you lose them, you're completely screwed. So can't lose them. Yeah. So you've got the little C-clip that you have to remove in the front. Only the front one. Someone had tried to remove the back one at some point, but you don't need to. So the front one comes out. You take the one belt out. I'm going to go ahead and clean all this, spray it with some contact cleaner. And then we'll go ahead and change the one up at the top there. I have both belts. You can see I ordered them from this company, Quality Radio Belts. They do a great job. They use the original specs on all of the belts that they make. So these work on many different models, not just Zeniths. And I've used them on, actually, I put one in my Spartan Tombstone, which I don't think I ever did a video on. I've had that for a long time. I put one in recently because the one that was in there finally broke. I've done other sets. I have a couple, I think it was Airline, True Tone. You know, there's many radios that use these dial belts. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put in some new ones, and you can see the new ones are clear. This material should last for many years. One other thing to keep in mind is these bolts here, these screws, screws hold the motor in. So sometimes you have to move the motor down. It actually doesn't like to be too tight. So it likes to be a little loose when it's running. So we're going to give that a try like that.
Oh, we have it back together. In court today.
Zenith Chairside.
Storm could be the biggest snowstorm of the winter for some next.
Snowstorm. 65 degrees today.
Moving forward, node-positive breast cancer is overwhelming, but I never just found my way. I made...
I don't have much of an antenna on it.
Everyday New Yorkers are turning into heroes when they sign up to be
It's a little slow. Well, there it goes.
Any fever, chills, or other signs of infection. Verzenio may cause low white blood cell counts, which may cause
Playing
serious
pretty
infection.
well. You got the tone control up here.
Inflammation can occur. Tell your doctor about any new or worsening trouble
I like the high fidelity myself.
Serious liver problems can
This
happen.
closes,
Symptoms include fatigue, appetite
so you can
loss,
have a
pain,
cover over it.
blood clots that can
Put
lead
down
to
a
death.
coaster if
Tell
you
your
want.
doctor if you have pain or swelling in your arms or legs, shortness of breath, chest pain, and rapid breathing or heart rate, or if you're nursing pregnancy.
Kind of a cool
I'm making my own way forward.
set. I just put this here to put stuff on so I don't ruin the wood. It's actually in good shape.
I'm Katie from Long Roofing. We do roof replacement the right way, the long way. Right now, get 50% off materials plus no
Not
payments
bad.
and no interest.